have spoken.
Thank you for tuning in to Talking Bay 94, the Star Wars podcast devoted to interviews with the cast, crew, and creators of a galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Brandon Winerdy, and today I'm talking to Misty Rosas, performance artist for everyone's favorite, Kuiil the Ugnaught from The Mandalorian. Misty's story is incredible, and her talent is unmatched, so I hope you enjoy her stories about getting the role, working on set, and listening to Nick Nolte's lines every night. This is Talking Bay 94, episode 84, Misty Rosas. I have spoken. Before even Star Wars, I always love talking about how you got involved with this impressive and varied career, like acting and stunts and writing and producing. What made you first want to get into the business?
Gosh. I mean, from a young age, my parents, they loved music. They loved shows on television. So, I mean, I was super young when they all, piled into the car to go see Star Wars for the first time. I was with my family, and I mean, it's way back in the day and at the, drive-in theater.
Right.
And even though I didn't necessarily understand, what was going on, you could feel it. You could feel an energy, and I remember the music, and just it was something bigger than with Star Wars. For me personally, it just feels it's like something really special, like that has always inspired me, literally from the time I was like 2 years old on. So yeah, I mean, I started gymnastics when I was 2.5, and with that, there is a performance element in some ways. I mean, you're training and practicing these skills and these tricks, but then there's also the dance part of it. I was trained, as a dancer. We did ballet every morning, as part of the floor routines and obviously some of the parts of your beam routine. So dancing and singing and shows and gymnastics, that was my entire childhood. So it's like it wasn't necessarily all the performance art, but it was all these pieces that ultimately brought me into, the film world.
Right. No, I think that's so great because like you're saying, the gymnastics, and then you lead into stunt, you lead into kind of being able to express your body in a very unique way. And I think that really has come a long way as we're talking. Your early roles, even before film, right? I think it's so interesting. I was reading about Disneyland and being a performer there. And now, all this time later doing the performance capture for Kuiil, it's kind of similar. I feel like, I wonder what your experiences were then and how that's kind of impacted you even now.
Oh, for sure. Just when I didn't even know I was at college, and a friend of mine that was in the dance performance there, she's like, "You're so tiny, you should audition for Disneyland, to be in some of the character roles because they dance as well." And I was like, "Wait, what? What? You can get paid to dance at Disneyland?" So she's like, "Yeah." And so, and everything, I don't know, it just, there's often, I like to think of it as, there's this journey that you're just on. Cause, so of course I right away, I somehow ended up going for an interview, but it was to be, part of the work staff at the hotel. And I'm like, oh no, that's not, I'm trying to figure out, how you audition or get into shows and parades. And the woman was really, really gracious and kind. And she just so happened, I guess throughout the park, they handed, different people in, you know, in every aspect of the park, even the hotel. They handed the flyers out for Phantasmic auditions because it's a big show. It was the first of its kind. And she's like, okay, well, you know, here's this flyer. So, you know, going on, this is something you can audition for. I was like, cool. So yeah, that was my first audition and ever. I was 18, and it was just fun. You know, I mean, I learned choreography, and then you go out there, and even though it was my first audition, it was, you know, wasn't my first time being out in front of a zillion people, because I don't know. I just remember there being probably at least 300 other performers, you know, that were there watching, but it's just, that wasn't new for me, being an elite gymnast. I mean, you're out there in the arena, and it's just full of people, and in a moment you have to go out and do your thing. So it just felt like that. And yeah, so that was my very first professional role, was the Phantasmic show at Disneyland.
That's incredible.
So yeah.
That's awesome. That is incredible. Well, because again, like we're leading into Mandalorian, because I feel like everything that you've done until then kind of has built and built and built to then be able to be comfortable and like kind of create a character like this. And then you move from Disneyland and then start working in film. And it stuck out to me with Congo, especially, that you were working under Stan Winston costumes, right? And like a heavy thing. It's like you're already training for this as it is. I'd be curious what your experience was there and how that all kind of came together.
It was, again, it's just one of those things that, you know, I just happened to know the right people and be at the right place at the right time. The coach that I trained under as an elite gymnast, the production, was looking all over the United States for people to do this role, because it was very, very specific. You needed to be under 5 feet. I'm 4'9", and you had to have extreme upper body strength. Basically extreme strength, period. And so they're like, well, that's gymnast. So he called me, knowing that I had been doing this, you know, costume work and stuff at Disneyland. And he's like, I don't know what this is for, but you know, just go out for it. I was like, okay. So so I met Peter Elliott and John Alexander. They're, you know, some of the originators of what is called guerrilla artist work. And it was a series of, you know, 3 auditions. The first one was all about seeing if really you could do what you said, which is, you know, show us your strongest skills, like, you know, give us an idea of how much upper body strength you have. So I did like press to handstands, which I'm training now, but I don't think I could do that ever again. It's like, it takes so much strength, upper body strength, just like strength everywhere. So we showed them that, and then they brought arm extensions as well. And, you know, they had us walk and run quadruped to see if you had the coordination and ability to do that. And of course, as a gymnast, you're, you know, on your hands as much as you're on your feet. So it was just like, you know, that was fun. So then the second audition was combining that with acting, you know, and they gave us a couple scenarios, and it's just you either want to be there and you just give it 110% of, you know, sheer terror as they're like coming at you and you're screaming, and then give it 110% of showing how much, you know, power and aggression you could have and charge at them while in quadruped. So I made that cut. And then the third audition was actually at Stan Winston Studios, and that was just, I mean, it was just even a thrill to go there, because they had just come off of Jurassic Park and Interview with a Vampire. So I walked through it's like it was like a meeting room, but it was this special room that had casts and stuff. So it's like the dinosaurs and these full body mannequins of Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt in their Interview with a Vampire. And I was just like, So it was just cool to be there. And
Yeah.
then we got introduced to Stan, and he, you know, watched our auditions, and then, as they say, the rest is history.
I love it. I love it. Actually, I just maybe it was a couple years ago. Terry Notary came into town, and Jason can attest. He was the one that did the performance capture for Planet of the Apes and
Mhm.
was doing it like that. But he did a class where he's like, if you want to learn how to walk like an ape, like we did,
Yeah.
you can. And so I was the volunteer, and I was terrible at it. So I know firsthand how tough that must be. You know, working with
Yeah.
the extensions and moving past that then to not only just being an artist like that requires, but then stunt work. That's another huge part of your career. How did you transition to that? How did you work in tandem with that? And are there any stunts or roles that stick out to you now looking back through all of that you're the most proud of?
I mean, again, it just kind of, my whole childhood basically prepared me for this career.
Yeah.
I met a lot of the artists that were the gray gorillas in
Hmm.
Congo were also stuntmen, and I also did all of the stunt work and stuff for Amy.
Hmm.
So I met the stunt coordinator, I met the assistant stunt coordinator, and all of the stuntmen and the
Right.
stunt women and stuff on there. Um, and it just kind of, it was just an easy shift as soon as Congo was done into that work as well. And, you know, it was all kind of happening all at the same time, just auditioning for other jobs. I mean, this is such a unique type of role. So,
Right.
like, I've been a gorilla 3 times. So, um,
Right.
uh, but you know, there's always with Dan Winston Studios, but now Legacy Effects, I always come in and work with them because
That's
we've
great.
built a rapport after a long time of, you know, working together on these different projects and these different characters. We just know each other really well. Let's see. So my favorite stunts. There's one I shared recently. Like I didn't, I mean, the clip is kind of, it's on my reel, but it was fun because it was, again, a combination of being a character as well as just getting to do some really fun stunts. But it was for Room 6.
Okay.
And it's the scene where Christine Taylor's character's in the church and everything goes dark. And then it was a little old woman, and she comes towards her, and you know, it's taken on, a demon has basically taken
Right.
over, and that was me. And you know, I turn around and just terrorize her and fly all over the church, and I'm in prosthetic makeup, and it was the first time I was in the Solera
Hmm.
contacts, which are the full eye contacts, and they were all black. So
Oh,
that was a trip to be in such a dark place, and it's like,
right.
just don't hit the pews, don't hit the pews with your knees, keep your knees out.
Yeah.
That was fun. And then doing working with Chad Stahelski and his team on Van Helsing. I've
Hmm.
never done Fire, and I don't know, when I go, when I decide to do something, I just go all the way and go big, and it did full body burn
Wow.
on a ratchet. So
Wow.
we did that about 6 times. So,
Incredible. That's crazy.
so yeah,
That's
just
incredible. I mean, you mentioned legacy effects, and I'd love to now transition to how you first got involved with The Mandalorian. I would be curious if there was an audition process or how you first got kind of connected with the production.
yeah, it was for a little while, and I mean, none of us, my agent, nobody, we knew nothing about
Right.
what they were asking for. I just, you know, there was a lot of back and forth with my agent about, does she have a reel? You know, we need to see her work. And mind
Right.
you, at the time, like, I had done a sharp left-hand turn into, you know, singing and songwriting and
Right.
videos and performing on stage. So that part of my career, it's not like it was on the back burner, but it wasn't my focus. So I did not have an updated reel, much to my poor agent, she like had been asking and begging and asking. My heart wasn't there. So she kept sending them like these random clips, but that was not good. And I mean, knowing now what I didn't know then, like after all this was over, I did get all of my reels fixed and updated. Because then they finally did ask, we would like to see her, come in and read for us. So I went into Seraphin Casting and I did a cold read with her. So, and again, I didn't know what I was auditioning for, but it was definitely Kuiil's dialogue. And one of his scenes with Mando. It was, and that's one of the moments too where, I don't know, for me, what I've learned over time is the best thing you could possibly ever do in this life is to just listen to your heart and lead with your heart. Because I had also, on top of everything else, at a certain point, I wanted to make sure that I was giving something back in the world. Mm-hmm. And I had discovered yoga after the Country Bears movie, and my body was really beat up from stunts and suit work and stuff. And my puppeteer, Alice, introduced me to yoga, and I was just immediately hooked. And long story short, I started practicing in 2001. And obviously, I'm still practicing, and I started teaching in 2006. I teach Bikram yoga. Mm-hmm. And my mom's just very concerned. She's like, I don't know, at the height of your career, why you would want to, just shut it down and take 9 weeks off to do this teacher training thing. And it's just like, I don't know, Mom. It's just, it feels right. It's something in my heart. And I want to, on my downtime from doing stuff, be giving something back to people. And in all honesty, the way I related with Kuiil, especially, at first in my audition and my cold read, was from my yoga journey and from a teaching place and from that wisdom place that, he possesses from a lot of life experience. So yeah, all the things that you do, I was just fortunate. They all kind of came together for Kuiil.
Right. No, that's incredible. And again, the character is like in a cast full of memorable characters from that season is still just like, even just I Have Spoken, right, has transcended the show almost. And it's a testament to that performance. And I mean, now to break down your work and kind of how much actual effort it took to kind of create that, I'd love to kind of focus on different elements. The first being the costume itself, right? And you had a lot of experience working under a costume, but was there anything specifically when you were getting fitted, when you were working with Legacy, that kind of impacted your performance, or how did that kind of start taking shape for you?
It's kind of everything. I mean, it was, we didn't have a ton of time. Legacy, my puppeteering team with Jason and David and Roderick, we had literally, aside from the test day, just, one afternoon to kind of be in front of a mirror, because we didn't have dialogue yet either. Right. So it was hard to, but we did just go over the one scene that we did have over and over and over to kind of start to get a feel for moving together. And I mean, because it was, Jason and David and Roderick and myself, like on set too, usually the first few takes were a little wonky, as everybody's like blending and meshing and getting timing, and I'm trying to hit marks and, get flow with, Pedro and Brendan and Latif and, whoever was in Mando. It was just, and I've kind of had a lifetime of this work. Leading up to this, I've been doing a lot of work with the Jim Henson Company on Sid the Science Kid and Word Party, and same thing in real time. You're creating these characters with a puppeteer, with yourself, and blending and meshing them together into one. So it just, it kind of, it's different. I mean, I haven't been in a practical suit like this in a long
Right.
time. And I remember John Rosengrant put me in it. And there's, so many people in the shop, from everybody that was creating the molds and the 3D models and, the suit and, hair tech, like all of it. It's just this incredible, and I did, write about it, I posted about it, the village at Legacy Effects that never went to set with us, but put me in the suit, which was good. And I walked around with him, said thank you to everybody as this character.
That's great. I love that.
But I was also like, oh, this is heavy. So, I was like, okay, you need to up your game with all of your training at home, because he was heavy. So
yeah. It's incredible. I'm glad that more and more of the stories from Legacy Effects are coming out, because the work that kind of had to go into all of this is so incredible. I'm actually talking to John Rosengrant pretty soon, so I'm excited to kind of hear those stories. Well, moving to then going on set in costume, figuring out this character. Again, there are so many elements involved. Nick Nolte's voice, of course, that you had to perform against and with, and then also working in the volume, I think is a singular experience that not a lot of actors have done before. And I'd be curious, with all those things combined, how that impacted you, but also like how that might have grown the character even beyond just being on a blue screen and getting the voice dubbed over later.
I was really, really fortunate, and super grateful to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. I'm sure they made a decision, because I didn't have his voice at my at our first screen test, but that's something that was really important, to have his voice. Nick Nolte is, as you know, brilliant. So it made that part of my job on set so much easier. Like, it's just, trying to, sometimes I would get his tracks the night before, and I would just spend as much time as possible just like falling asleep listening to the way he would say things. And, he gave me, a gift of giving us multiple takes and a different tone and a different punch of certain words. So, when we were on set, kind of seeing and getting a feel for the dynamic and the flow of the scene, after rehearsal and stuff, I would run over to our puppeteer station and, listen to all the dialogue, and then we would choose what we felt was the right tone for each line. And then David would super fast, I don't know how he did it, like cut everything together. The director would come over and have a listen too, and then we'd be ready and then go and add that to everything else. So the volume, it was really special. It was just there wasn't any extra imagination part that you had to do. It was there. Everybody was there. So the only one that was really challenging for me, and I was a little nervous about, I was like, I hope it turned out well, was IG-11. There were some times when Rio, who was in the green suit, was there with me, but there were many times that he wasn't, and I'm just like acting and nothing on the volume. I'm just like, okay. Especially when he, picks up the box and he smushes one of the little creatures, and I like kind of do like a jolt. So, but I was really, really happy when I saw that. I was like, okay, that was funny.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, you mentioned directors, and you're in a position where, of course, it was Jon Favreau kind of overseeing, and we actually just talked to Emily Swallow, the armorer, who I was in a similar position where you worked with multiple visionaries during your 3 episodes, right? You had Filoni, you had Deborah Chow, and you had Rick, and be curious how your experience shifted with working with each of them, how it was cohesive, and kind of your experience bringing a character to life with 3, incredible directors.
Oh, all of them, they're all incredibly, they're just kind and gracious, and they all came prepared. So yeah, I mean, my first director was Dave, and he's just, and I'm grateful because he's so, easygoing and just everything's gonna be fine. And like, and I needed that because, the very first day of shooting, the very first shot up was me and Mando. And it was one of
Wow.
Will's longer, monologues about
Wow.
what is happening. It was us on the blurgs looking over the encampment. And, I came in super prepared. I was like off book with my lines and, standing there, with him. He's like, okay, let's just read through the, the scene and stuff,
Right.
and trying to just know that, because I've done it in the past, and I did it especially as a gymnast, where I'd get so nervous that I would just ruin everything. Like, it just, your nerves have just made everything fall apart. So it's just like, I don't want to do that. I want to just come in prepared, and all you can ever do is just know what you're doing and why, and what you're saying and why, and then let it go, let it go, let it go, and just feel and be. So I was just, really proud to be battling those nerves and things like
Yeah.
that, but just do my thing. I mean, um trust for once in my life that
Right.
I have enough experience all of these years to come in and deliver something, so it was
Right.
really cool. It was really special. I mean, I think we did probably that whole first scene. I mean, it probably only took us maybe like 30 minutes, 45. And that was
Right.
my first day. And they're like, okay, you're wrapped. I'm like, what? So yeah, it was
That's
cool.
awesome.
So
And not
yeah.
only was that the first day of shooting, that was also Dave Filoni's first day of live action
Yes,
directing too.
yes.
So
And he's
yeah.
like, I remember, I think it was the DP or something, I guess, who came out to him and was like, we need to go, we need to go. He's like, what, why? Because he's always been inside. And he's
Right.
like, we're chasing the sun. We're chasing the sun.
Yeah, that's great.
He's like, oh, okay. He's really sweet. So yeah, he was just really just fun and light.
Right.
We shot, it's, because it was an important moment
Sure.
when it's the first time you meet Kuiil, after he shoots one of his blurgs with
Right.
the tranquilizer dart, and he,
Right.
walks up and you're introduced to him for the first time. We shot that a few times, because they
Mhm.
wanted to make sure that they got it just right. And it was like, I think the third time through, and he's like, well, we're here one more time. And it's like, it's cool,
Right.
this is an important moment, and I want people to, connect with him and
Yeah.
to, like him. So
Yeah. Well,
so
it worked, and I love Quill, if only because he is such a just fully formed Star Wars character. Even the way you're describing how it took to perform him with all the people that worked with you
mm,
and Nick Nolte's voice, that's a very seminal Star Wars thing, right? The people
yeah,
like Jabba the Hutt and these things that kind of required
yeah,
this team. And so like a team Quill is kind of the same thing. And I think that's so great to bring that back. And you did
yeah.
such an incredible job doing your part to make this fully formed character. So
Yeah. Let's see. So Rick, same thing. Rick is, he's just, he's this like quiet force that,
mhm,
is constantly thinking about everything and how it's all tying together. And he gave us a lot of freedom, to kind of, just to have, have fun with it, and
mhm,
to, um, I remember the poor guy, like one night I was working with Brendan, and,
right.
I mean, obviously our lines ultimately, they're not ours talking, but as
Mhm,
the characters, well, mine, Nick Nolte was there, but they were gonna,
right.
finesse that later. But he has to do dialogue with me. Sometimes, like, I knew it, like, because I had to know it. I had to know his lines too.
Right.
Um, and like he just was tired. I was tired, and he forgot a line, and he just started laughing. And I'm just like, "Is that And so, and just, it was one of those moments of we got the giggles. Rick didn't care. He was just laughing too. And he's like, all right, guys, let's, give you a moment. Let's try this again. And just, we
Right.
thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh, I'm going to get fired. So, but yeah, just, he's cool because he allowed so much kind of, I think, lightness and freedom that there were these moments that you wouldn't necessarily catch if it wasn't so. He's just like, the scene, what you're doing, find those other little moments too, like
Right.
the scene when we roll up to have the meeting with the Jawas, and they're upset because he's been shooting them, and I'm telling him you have to remove all your weapons, and
Right.
it's like, including the blaster, and like I just throw him a look that they didn't, just, it wasn't obviously scripted. It was just like that moment of
Right.
behave. So, and just things like that happened with him. And then with Deb, she was cool because she was a little more hands-on with wanting certain angles and stuff. And, she would come running in after every, take, every scene, and just really hands-on. She was fun because I had a lot of scenes with the baby with her, and like, because I love the baby, obviously,
Right.
and I would always like try to get a touch in or something, and she'd always like, Mist, remember, you're a grumpy old man. You don't like the baby. Don't touch the baby. It's like, I promise I won't. No, but in the moment, it was just like, you don't like the baby that much.
Right.
I know, I promise. So that was, they were all just, if you just go in and your work, and you go in prepared, and then you just have an opportunity to be in the moment and create with them. So
incredible. Yeah. That, I mean, and of course it shows in the final product. And I mean, moving away from Mando briefly, if only to talk about your other projects and your other incredible stuff that you're doing, I'd be curious. You brought up Jim Henson, and traditional costume work like Kuiil, and then moving to like motion work and capture like you do with Jim Henson Company for Set the Science Kid, for Award Party. What different challenges do both of those methods bring, and what kind of have you been learning on that job and kind of figuring out for yourself?
With motion capture, it took me a while because there's no camera in front of you. It's in virtual space. So, and I didn't understand, like, there's the grid up above you, a 360-degree grid that is capturing all your motion. And then we stream as the character up on these big screens all around. And then, again, virtually, there's a camera, and it's like, I don't understand. It's like, well, look straight into lens, and, and I've learned too that, especially with motion capture, the closer it gets, the more offset you get. So you have to like, shift with it. I think with the Jim Henson Company and getting to do those characters, because I've been fortunate to get to work with Brian Henson a lot on different test pilots, and I've had the best time. Like, we got to do one, and I don't think it's gonna go, but it was with Billy Crystal.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, like, it was just literally my character. She was a witch, and she was auditioning for something, and and I'm there with Billy Crystal, and he's reading with me, and we're doing this whole scene, and I just it was like Billy and Brian, and again, it's one of those moments like, stay calm, and just do your work, and it was just really fun. It's just, you get to do, especially at the Jim Henson Company, I get to dance as these characters, and even in that test pilot, there's this like, he's like, okay, we're gonna go into the dance part, and I'm just like, and just doing all these goofy comedic things that are total anti-dance of warming up like shoulders and things, and then
Right.
I auditioned like modern dance into, and I'll never forget, and I'll probably, because it was always a secret. It was at the time that Hamilton had just come out,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm one of those weird people that I'm like Danny Elfman. When I heard this, I was like, I don't like musicals, but I love music and, dancing, just not necessarily together. So I didn't know anything about Hamilton. And he's like, okay, this time, at the end of it, because there was like this rap section, he's like, just try to do something from Hamilton. And I'm like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, what's Hamilton? And I was like, I'm not going to ask Billy Crystal that. So I was like, can you give me a second? And like, I was like, turn off my mic. And then I ran to my puppeteer, Donna Kimball, and I was like, turn off your mic. And I was like, what's Hamilton? And she's like, started laughing. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know musicals. And she's like, I was like, he wants me to do something from Hamilton. I don't understand. What's that mean? And she's like, just do hip hop. I was like, okay, got it. And did hip hop for him. But yeah, I mean, the difference between the two, there are a lot of things that are not there for, jobs like Sid Science Kid and Word Party. We have a lot of PVC pipes out there that kind of are markers, and then we'd have tape marks. So you do have to take a lot of time and watch the monitors up there really quickly to make sure you're touching things and different camera angles. It looks like you're touching things and it doesn't look like you're touching things sometimes. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do more to create the idea that it's there too. And then getting to work in tandem with my puppeteers is always, that was super important for then coming on to The Mandalorian. And then The Mandalorian, it's back to practical suits, which suddenly you're not able to breathe well, and it's really, really heavy. And so, I would have to conserve my energy constantly in order to, to handle that job. Like I usually am light and bubbly and always kind of not screwing around, but having fun with the other, castmates and stuff. But on this one, I knew that every moment I just had to just be calm, because Kuiil took like 1,000% all the time. So
wow,
yeah.
I love it. No, that's incredible. Well, you mentioned music, and you're obviously talking about dancing and how that's been such a tangible force in your life. And I'd love to talk even briefly about your music career and your music videos. Especially, I loved the Panic Button music video. I thought that was great. Like, how has that kind of been an outlet for you, or how has that been a tandem part of your career? And are there any upcoming projects or things that you're excited about in terms of your music that you would love people to know about?
Sure. Well, music again. I mean, I didn't know why I was always drawn to it, but again, my parents I grew up on their music, which is, the standards. It's like Dean Martin, the Righteous Brothers, Johnny Mathis, who else? Engelbert Humperdinck, but also fun ones like Jimmy Buffett and the Bee Gees and stuff. So music was with me from the beginning of time. And then I more recently, a few years ago, I found out that, and he's since passed, unfortunately, but his name was Rick Roses. One of my cousins was, one of the best bass players in the business. And, he toured with Neil Young, and just was like, there's pictures of him backstage with the Rolling Stones and stuff.
Wow,
I was like,
incredible.
So, and then I also had seen a picture of my family. It's my extended family on my dad's side. And it's, in black and white. We don't really know who these people are. But they all have guitars. So it's like, okay, now I get it. Music really, really has been in my family, like it's rooted. Um, I started my journey because of my audition for Sid the Science Kid. They had me sing at my audition. I didn't get that role because Donna Kimball is a singer, and her role was actually that character. So, but then, that's how I met my record producers, and we
Wow.
started in 2009. And I have a brand new song that I'm hoping to record. We'll see, with safety and stuff. It's just
Right.
me and my 2 record producers in this one little private recording studio, but hopefully next week if everything feels
Oh,
safe.
wow.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it's just what I do. Again, it's for me, singing and songwriting and stuff is more about just following my heart and
Yeah.
being an artist, being a creative. My thing with the songs that I've written is that, even as just a listener of music and stuff too, I've been inspired by the songs that different artists have written and sung. And, if I can inspire someone, even with Panic Button or something of, trusting your heart and not pressing that when you get really scared and you get really nervous. Trust why you're doing it and trust that those nerves are because you care. You actually really care a lot. That's why you're so nervous. So for me, it's just more about putting messages out there of,
Right.
like hope and inspiration and love. Of a lot of people in my life have passed, and writing about them and continuing their legacy. So that's why I wrote "Only Love Is Forever" for 2 of my best friends. And yeah, I mean, I'm an artist, so I wanted to, I think, share those parts of me. I knew like it just felt right because it was scary, doing
Right.
Panic Button and really exposing all of the things about myself that, other people also, because they've, approached me about it, feel and have
Right.
just said, thank you. I didn't know that about you. And it's something that I have feared and felt too. So thank you for sharing that. So yeah, that's,
Incredible.
all that that's about.
I love it. No, that's so great. And I think, I mean, even leading into my final question, which is kind of a wrap up, because now with Kuiil, I think you've spent the majority of your career being, behind a mask and being part of bringing this larger characters to life. But now, especially with like working in Star Wars, of course, it comes with fans and conventions and autographs and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And now, like, the world is getting to know like Misty Rosas not only through music, but through just like going to conventions and like signing autographs. And I'd be curious how that's impacted you, or how you've kind of felt kind of coming into a Star Wars community, and what that experience has been.
Yeah, it's very new.
Yeah.
Um, I have spent pretty much my whole career underneath suits and on a motion capture stage creating these characters, and I really I was not expecting to have a credit, so I thank Colin and Kathleen Kennedy and Dave and John for um, they didn't have to do that.
Right.
I was underneath the suit. Nick Nolte, that's, his voice and stuff. So the fact that they give me that credit, it kind of took me aback at the premiere. I was just like, my
Oh,
best
yeah.
friend and roommate was next to me, and he's like, no, your name. And I'm just like, oh my God, it was like, I'm getting totally, teary eyed because, yeah, um, not expecting that. And
Right.
then it was like immediate. Someone from, I think, Italy found a picture of me on the internet and then put Quill next to it. And it's like, this is, the person in the costume. So it was just like kind of, that was immediate. And then this nice slow roll of people kind of, finding out.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been fun. Like, it's the Star Wars fans are super, super kind and
Mhm.
very just, yeah, they're nice people. Like, I've enjoyed, kind of saying hello to everybody and trying to keep up and give everybody hearts. So I haven't met anybody yet because of, the pandemic and everything, and being mindful and respectful, and trying to wait that out. But I do look forward to meeting people, hopefully next year. So yeah.
Incredible. Well, it was great to meet you virtually, hear your story and talk to you. And thank you for your time, Misty. This was such a treat.
Of course. Thank you so much. This was really, really fun.
Thank you again to Miss Rosas for coming onto the show and being such a delight. Make sure you're following her on Instagram at Miss Misty Rosas. Upcoming interviews include pre-production legend David Dozoretz, the geniuses at Blind Limited, and author of the Glove of Darth Vader series, Paul Davids. And this was a secret, but starting next week, we'll be doing live video recap shows for The Mandalorian every Friday night, partnering with our friends at Scener. More info to come, but I cannot wait to share this with you. Until next week, stay tuned, leave a 5-star review, and may the Force be with you.